There is a crop that breaks every rule of modern farming. It yields double the harvest of potatoes. It survives the cold that kills wheat. And once you plant it, you never have to buy seed again. It replants itself forever. For thousands of years, it was the ultimate insurance against famine. Then, we erased it. We did not stop growing it because it failed. We stopped growing it because it was too successful. A crop that grows without permission, that feeds without cost, and spreads like wildfire cannot be owned. And what cannot be owned cannot be sold. This is the story of the perennial that outlasted empires, survived 2 world wars, and still waits beneath your feet. Welcome to Nature Lost Vault. Before we open this vault, if these stories matter to you, the best way to preserve this wisdom is simple. Subscribe, hit the bell, and share these vaults with those who need to remember what we forgot. The archive opens along the eastern shores of North America in 1605. A French explorer named Samuel de Champlain lands on the coast of what would become Massachusetts. The Algonquin people welcome him with a feast. Among the dishes is a knobby root they call kaishucpenauk, the sun root. Champlain tastes it. He writes in his journal that it rivals the artichoke of Europe. He fills the hold of his ship with tubers and sails back to France. This is the sunchoke, Helianthus tuberosus, the perennial sunflower root native to the Great Lakes and eastern woodlands. Long before Champlain arrived, Native American tribes knew its secret. The Iroquois told a story. When Earth Woman died giving birth to twin sons, Sapling and Flint, the first sunchokes grew from her feet, a crop born from sacrifice. The plant towers over a man, 8 to 10 feet tall, crowned with yellow sunflowers that follow the sun. But the treasure is invisible, buried beneath the soil. Knobby tubers, white, purple, gold, storing sweetness as inulin, not starch. Tribes from the Atlantic to the Great Plains planted it once and harvested forever. It spread through underground rhizomes like a network of veins beneath the earth. One patch fed a village for generations. In 1805, Lewis and Clark nearly starved crossing the Dakotas. Sacagawea saved them. She found mouse caches, thousands of sunchokes gathered underground for winter. She dug them up, roasted them over fire, and fed the expedition. The tubers could be eaten raw, crisp like water chestnuts, or boiled until soft. They could be dried into flour that lasted through winter. They survived freezing, waiting in the ground, ready whenever hunger came. The yield was staggering. A single plant produces 3 to 6 pounds. An acre yields more food than wheat, and more food than corn in cold climates. Studies centuries later would prove it. 64,000 pounds per acre without a single drop of irrigation. Potatoes, even in perfect conditions, yielded 53,000 pounds with irrigation. This was survival itself, not luxury. It was the foundation. When Champlain carried sunchokes to France in 1605, Europe was starving. Soils were exhausted, and famines struck every few years. The potato was feared. People believed it caused leprosy, but the sunchoke spread like salvation. The French called it topinambour. The Italians called it girasola, sunflower. It fed peasants, livestock, even kings. No fertilizer, no care. Plant a tuber in spring and harvest in fall. Leave fragments in the ground, and next year a full crop appears on its own. University trials centuries later confirmed what farmers knew. Sunchoke produced 30,000 pounds per acre. Potato produced 20,000 pounds. In calories, sunchokes rivaled corn, the world's most important grain. But cracks appeared. The tubers were small, knobby and irregular, difficult to clean and difficult to harvest by machine. They spoiled faster than potatoes and could not sit in warehouses for months. And the inulin caused gas in people unused to it. By the mid-1700s, the potato won. Larger, smoother, easier to store, it fit the systems Europe had built. Warehouses, markets, tax collectors. The sunchoke fell, reduced to food for the poor and animal feed, a crop for those with nothing better. In North America, settlers called it a weed. They preferred European crops, wheat and potatoes, crops that required buying seed every year, crops that could be controlled, taxed, and sold. The sunchoke survived in ditches, roadsides, forgotten corners, but it was no longer cultivated, no longer valued, just waiting. Then war came. World War I. Germany was strangled by an Allied blockade. The winter of 1916 became known as the Turnip Winter. People ate rutabagas meant for livestock because potatoes had failed. Thousands died. Sunchokes saved some. Growing wild in forgotten fields, they could not be blockaded. They could not be seized. They were just waiting underground for desperate hands. But World War II was worse. In France, in 1940, Nazi forces seized 80% of all food. Potatoes were sent to German soldiers. What was left for French families was scraps, sunchokes, rutabagas, vegetables once fed to pigs. For 9 years, millions survived on topinambur. People despised it. The tubers were small and hard to clean. Eaten every day, they caused terrible gas. Still, they kept children alive when everything else was gone. The Nazi hunger plan seized food from occupied lands while millions starved. But sunchokes could not be controlled. They were too hardy, too wild. They just grew. In the Netherlands, the winter of 1944 became the hunger winter. 22,000 people died of starvation. The government published emergency cookbooks that listed wild plants, tulip bulbs, and sunchokes. Families dug frozen ground with their bare hands looking for tubers. After liberation, survivors refused to eat them. An entire generation associated topinambur with death, with occupation, with the worst years humanity had seen. In France, grandparents who survived would not allow it on their tables, never again. The vegetable that saved millions became a symbol of suffering. It disappeared from markets, from cookbooks, from memory. But war could not change what sunchokes were. 73 calories per 100 grams, 2 grams of protein. Potassium at 429 milligrams, more than bananas. Iron, copper, magnesium. B vitamins flooding every cell. The real power is inulin, 50 to 60% by weight, one of Earth's richest sources. Inulin passes through your stomach undigested and reaches your colon intact. Beneficial bacteria, especially bifidobacterium, feast on it. They multiply and produce short-chain fatty acids. These lower pH block pathogens and help absorb calcium and magnesium that would otherwise pass through. Studies showed it reduces constipation and boosts immune function. It may stop certain cancers before they start. Potatoes spike blood sugar. Sunchokes do not. The inulin converts to fructose slowly. Diabetics in the 1980s wrote letters saying they ate sunchokes daily, and their insulin needs dropped by half. Folk medicine validated by science, and the plant heals land. It is perennial, requiring no tilling and causing no erosion. Its deep roots crack compacted soil. It tolerates drought, poor dirt, and cold to -30 degrees Celsius. Where annual crops die, sunchokes thrive. They were designed for chaos. In the 1960s in California, a produce wholesaler named Frida Kaplan stared at knobby tubers gathering dust. The name was killing it. Jerusalem artichoke. Confusing. Wrong. It was not from Jerusalem, and it was not an artichoke. The Italian word girasole, meaning sunflower, had been corrupted by English tongues. She renamed it sunchoke and trademarked the name in 1980. She packaged it in 1-pound bags with recipes. Sales jumped 600%. Chefs discovered it. Nutty, sweet, crisp when raw, and creamy when cooked. High-end restaurants in San Francisco served sunchoke soup, roasted sides, and purees. But something bigger was happening. In the 1980s, the farm crisis hit, and Midwest farmers were collapsing. An experiment began. Grow sunchokes for food, feed, fuel, and independence from corporate supply chains. High yields. Perennial. Ethanol from inulin fermentation. Perfect. It failed economically. No market, no processing infrastructure. Farmers lost money, but the idea survived. A crop for self-sufficiency, for communities that refuse corporate control. In France, decades after the war, chefs reclaimed topinambour. Les légumes oubliés, the forgotten vegetables. Not symbols of suffering anymore. Heritage. By the 2000s, sunchokes appeared in farmers' markets across North America and Europe. Permaculture called them the Holy Grail. One planting, forever harvests. Today, scientists study them for marginal lands. Where climate change kills wheat and corn, the sunchoke waits. Born in chaos. Built for extremes. Resilience. So why don't we see it everywhere? Industrial agriculture demands uniformity. Crops that ripen on schedule. Harvest by machine. Ship without bruising. Store for months. Look perfect under fluorescent lights. Sunchokes refuse. They mature at different times. Spoil quickly, potato harvesters lose half the tubers. Too small, too attached to roots. Efficient harvest requires specialized equipment or hand labor. Neither scales, neither profits. And the inulin problem. What makes them nutritionally superior also causes gas. The gut bacteria need time to adapt. But modern food does not tolerate adaptation periods. It demands instant satisfaction. The nickname spread. Artichoke. A joke. Even Julia Child wrote, asking, can you fix the flatulence problem? Yes, cook longer. Heat converts inulin to fructose. Or eat small amounts. Let your body adjust. But that requires patience. Industrial food has none. So sunchokes stay niche. Farmers' markets, specialty crops, and home gardens where they spread uncontrollably. That uncontrollable spread is the point. You cannot kill sunchokes without poison. Any fragment sprouts. In Europe, they are called invasive when they escape. Invasive. The word we use for things that succeed without permission. Things that do not need us. Things that remind us control is an illusion. The sunchoke teaches what empires want buried. Abundance does not require control. Perennials return without permission. They do not need seed purchases, chemical inputs, corporate approval. They adapt, persist, outlast. But crops that persist without profit are dangerous. The sunchoke outyields potatoes, heals dead soil, feeds communities without middlemen. It cannot be patented, cannot be owned, cannot generate perpetual revenue, so it is called primitive, difficult, unsuitable. The pattern repeats. Amaranth was banned by conquistadors for being too sacred. Tepary beans were erased by machines that could not handle their freedom. Mesquite was cleared for cattle that destroyed what the tree protected. Fava beans were replaced by pills that charge $500 for what grows free in gardens. Indigenous crops that enable sovereignty are systematically erased. Not because they fail, because they succeed without chains. The sunchoke survived by being unkillable. But most people alive today have never tasted one. They have never watched it grow. They have never learned that planting 3 tubers in autumn yields 30 pounds by spring. That knowledge waits underground. Climate change is coming. Droughts, floods, heat. The crops feeding 8 billion people were bred for stability. That stability is ending. The sunchoke was born in chaos. It stores energy where drought cannot reach. It survives cold that kills potatoes. It outproduces corn using 1/3 of the water. When industrial systems fail, the sunchoke will be ready. It has been ready for 4 centuries. French families survived occupation eating topinambour they hated. Dutch mothers dug frozen ground for tubers to feed starving children. Native Americans called it kaishucpenauk, sunroot, a gift from Earth Woman's sacrifice. Names change. Memory fades. It resurfaces. But the plant never left. Perennial. Underground. Waiting for hands willing to dig. We did not lose the sunchoke. We just forgot it. But forgetting is not final. The knowledge lives in the soil, in every wild patch, in every escaped tuber, in every gardener who plants 3 and harvests 30. This crop teaches through persistence, through a refusal to die. Abundance was always here, growing in the dirt, free. If this vault opened something for you, subscribe to Nature Lost Vault and hit the bell. Every like and every share preserves what they tried to erase. The next vault opens soon.